Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I'm Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today, sir?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing better than last night, bud. I'll tell you what, we tried to record this thing last night, and it was not pretty. We're going to dedicate today's show to Mr. Jim Foster. Get better, old man. I want to start it off with that and make sure we kick it in. We tried to get it in last night. It was a no-go, but we are ready to go. It's probably better that we do it today because we know who won the second game of the World Series now. It is Thursday instead of Wednesday. So by the time you hear this, the third game will already be going on or maybe even over. But we'll get into some World Series. We've, of course, got our Mount Rushmore of point guards that we have to each throw out, which I have a feeling this one we're going to have some different ones. At least one different.
I do too.
All right. NFL picks and then our comedy segment. So before we get started into all of this, let's do what we do best and talk about the people that support us.
Yes, sir. Training personally with Peggy Edwards is the first one that we'd like to talk about. So no matter where you're at in your physical journey, in your fitness journey, if you like to be challenged, you need to be challenged. Maybe you don't like to be challenged, but you need to be. You look at yourself in the mirror and figure out, look, I'm not getting to the gym. I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting on the couch all the time. I'm eating ice cream. I just described myself.
That was exactly right.
But you know you need to get up and do something. You know you don't want your body just to deteriorate because you've been sitting around all the time. You just got to get to the gym. Get to the gym, and once you find the place you fit in, and you find the place that you feel good about, you're going to want to go back, and you're going to get in a rhythm. And then once you get there and you get in a rhythm and you go a couple of times, you really get a momentum going, and your whole life changes. You want to go check out Training Personally with Peggy Edwards. You get the benefit of working out with a personal trainer, but you don't pay what a personal trainer normally costs. It's the tiny amount that you cost to basically to pay or to belong to a gym, but you don't have to just do a monthly membership where you're stuck there. If you don't want to go anymore, you don't have to. It's not, you can pay each time you go. There all different kinds of options for payments, and it's very little cost anyway. Training Personally is circuit training for all levels with a personal trainer at your pace on your time. Peggy Edwards, owner operator, certified personal trainer, keeps your workouts safe. She keeps them fresh. You're doing new stuff all the time. She keeps them fun. Everything's sanitary there. You're in your own space there. You're not going around in a circuit sharing stuff with everybody right now. It's very, very COVID friendly to go there. You will not get sick if you go there. So go check it out. 3634 Boudneau Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're anywhere near there, if you're within an hour, it's worth the drive to go to this gym and check it out. Just pop in anytime, and Peggy will greet you, give you all the information you need to know about it. If you want to check it out before you go in, though, you can email Peggy at pegggy@trainingpersonally.com. Check out trainingpersonally.com, the website. She's on Facebook at Training Personally, or text or call her, 513-328-0296. That's Peggy Edwards with Training Personally. 513-328-0296.
Also brought to you by Green Solace. That's greensolace.com, GREENESOLACE.com. Elizabeth Green is an experienced professional massage therapist. She provides you with a massage tailored to your needs, whether it's just to relax and unwind, or you need a focused massage on your problem areas. She can take care of it. You got a bad back, she's going to rub your back down. I keep wanting to say she's going to rub it out for you, like get the pain out, but that just sounds so terrible. That's not exactly how it's going to go. Anyway, great place, man. If you want to get a massage and you want to go to a professional masseuse, she's your girl. If you're in the Cincinnati area, you can go online to greensolace.com. You can book everything online. You don't have to make any phone calls. You don't have to go anywhere if you don't want to. But if you do want to, if you do like the personal touch instead of the online, you can call her 513-702-4178. Set it up. She's in Cleves, Ohio, not far from any major highway here in Cincinnati, and you can check it out and get yourself taken care of.
Listen, maybe my favorite thing about this podcast each week now is becoming more and more your discomfort with reading that. Because you're never uncomfortable about anything, but you are uncomfortable about this.
Here's the problem.
Here's
why I'm uncomfortable. It's my buddy's wife, right? So, like, if any other massage therapy place were deciding that they would want to do a bit on this podcast, they would understand if I was reading it that we're going to have an issue. And I'm going to say all kinds of really funny stuff about rubbing tugs and this, that, and the other. But it's so hard because I love Liz. I love my boy BT. And I don't want to do them wrong. So I try to keep it real. Of course, I'm sure they get a kick out of it, and they're probably laughing at me too, but it is what it is.
Let me tell you something. If you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, and you're a person that's kind of weird about massages and you've never had one, and you don't like people touching you, I am that person. I don't like people touching me. I was always afraid to get one. Years ago, somebody talked me into it. I tried it. It was a great experience, and I went several more times after that. It's been a long time since I've had a massage, but I went several times after that, and it was great. I mean, you go to a professional place. You don't go to a hole in the wall that has no sign or something like that. That's not what you want. This Green Solace is a completely solid, legitimate business that you will have no. You go there, check it out. You will have no problem. And if, like I said, if you're like me, you're a person that's a little weirded out, you don't like the people touching you, give it a chance. Understand that this is not what you see in the movies or hear about in jokes or anything like that. It's not that. This is massage therapy. It's not a weird thing. It's massage
I believe
therapy.
It's in the same
it's
building.
Very good for you.
I believe it's in the same building as not an architect.
Oh.
A chiropractor. So,
okay.
The chiropractors hand in hand, right? They'll be like, yo, go check out the Green Solace, So that's the whole deal.
That's exactly what I did when I went and got a massage. It was like a joint kind of business. I'm not sure that's what this is, but it was like a thing together though. And I saw the chiropractor first, and I went right over to the massage rooms and got a massage, and it was, it's a doctor prescribing you medicine, which is a massage.
That's exactly.
So go check it out. Give it a chance. I promise it's not going to be as weird as you think if you are like how I used to be.
Yeah.
It's totally good.
I'm very ticklish, man. I am so
everywhere.
So ticklish.
Yeah.
So ticklish. I'm so ticklish that people don't even have to tickle me. People can just walk up behind me and I start giggling and like scooching away like, oh my God.
Yeah. Skin crawl. Dude, yeah. I could never get a foot massage. I can tell you that. If I have a problem area and it's my foot, nope, can't get a massage is not on the table as far as treatment goes.
No.
Cut my foot off before you give me a foot massage because it's just a tickle job.
It's exactly right. You better be squeezing as hard as you can and gently getting to it. I mean, grab my foot and just start squeezing as hard as you can. That's the only way that would. Yes.
You have to hurt me.
Right. And I might even laugh a little bit while you're hurting me too.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, laugh a little bit while you hurt me. Clayton Kershaw, Game 1, World Series. Can we say that's probably the biggest story of the World Series so far?
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw kind of shedding a little bit of that old stigma that he's not a good postseason pitcher.
Sure. Yes. Could you imagine if Clayton Kershaw didn't pitch against the Astros in the one World Series that he was in? the World Series where the Astros cheated and didn't swing at a single curveball because they knew they were coming and beat the brakes off of them. Could you imagine that? We'd be talking about Clayton Kershaw as one of the greatest of all time.
The best curveball in the game, probably, and they didn't swing
Yeah.
at him.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, Clayton Kershaw has had enough other not great or not up to Clayton Kershaw standard games that he's pitched in the playoffs before and after that. That kind of, didn't do him any favors either. But he did, he has had other good games. I think people still have that in their mind that he just freezes up or he just blows it in big situations or whatever. And that's really not the case completely.
Not true at all. The guy has over 200 no. Is it? I was going to say 200 career strikeouts in the postseason. I don't know if that's correct or not, but he has.
I think it is.
Sure, it's probably more than that. He is second all time in strikeouts in Major League Baseball in the postseason. If you're not that great of a postseason pitcher, you're probably not getting deep into games enough to where you're going to be able to be second all time.
And he's gonna become number one in this series.
Oh, is he?
He's close enough. Yeah, he's pretty. Wow. He's really, really close. I think he's within like 8 or something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, it is like Clayton Kershaw he's had bad luck with injuries too so much, and we would be talking about him as one of the greatest of all time, and we still may by the end of his career. But he does have that thing about the postseason, and so I was happy to see that he had a great start. He pitched very well in Game 1, and the Dodgers won that game, and then move on to Game 2, and Blake Snell. The Rays really have like 3 aces, but
Blake Snell, isn't he a former Cy Young winner?
Yeah, he just won this year, didn't he? Yeah. So Blake Snell was fantastic. He's the third pitcher to ever have at least 2 strikeouts in 4 consecutive innings. I forget is either in a World Series game or a postseason game. Might be a postseason game. Bob Gibson was one, and the other one was another, I forget,
Owen Ryan,
Tom Seaver. Yeah, somebody like an all-time, elite pitcher. So a pretty cool stat there. So he was really good, and the Rays won Game 2. So tied 1-1 as we're talking about it right now, and you have an even better, as good as those pitchers were in those first 2 games, you have Walker Buehler and Charlie Morton going in Game 3. I'm just as excited about that matchup as any. So this is just the best. I mean, the postseason period, but then you get to the end, to the World Series, and you have the 2 teams playing the best baseball at that time.
The 2 best records in baseball are playing. That's what I love. I love that. I love that, especially during expanded playoffs, because I feel like that's more of a reason not to continue to keep expanding the playoffs. Like, it's not doing anything. You're not getting some Cinderella in the World Series, and I don't think that's exactly what they want. It's obviously a money grab and things like that, and you want people to have runs, but you don't necessarily want them in the World Series. Whereas this is what we're here for, man. We're here for the 2 best teams. Let's get it on. And you've got the best, maybe one of the top 3 best pitching teams in all of baseball in Tampa Bay, and the best offensive team in all of baseball in LA. And it's been back and forth so far. So I love it. It's been fun to watch. The Rays offense came alive in Game 2. They've got a few guys that were hitting under the Mendoza line, and they all came out. I think every person on that team, I feel like, had an RBI in that game. But I'm excited, man. The rest of the series is going to be a lot of fun. We've got Game 3 Thursday, Game 4 Friday, Game 5 Saturday, right? It's 2-3-2.
Game 3 tomorrow, which is Friday. Right. We're recording this on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Game 4 on Saturday.
Yeah. So long. All right, that sounds good. That being said, we've got a lot more fun to come with that. So by the time we come back on to the air on Wednesday, one of us might be having to talk about how we're going to be doing a comedy set. We won't have to do it that week. We'll get an extra week after that. Whatever. If the last game is on the night of the podcast,
we need to talk about this.
It'll be the week after. If the last game of the World Series is on Thursday, then we'll get 2 weeks because we'll have a podcast to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we need a podcast to talk about it. So maybe if it ends on Tuesday, then we'll talk about it on Wednesday. Comedy's the next week. If it ends on Thursday, that's the day after we do the podcast. We'll talk about it that next Wednesday, and then the week after that, we'll do it. I feel like that's fair. I feel like we need a week to talk about it after whatever happens.
Okay.
And to be honest, I have no idea how either of us are going to have to do it. I believe that if LA wins the World Series, I have to do a minute of stand-up comedy. No fans, no crowd, no nothing. But if they lose because you're down 2 minutes, because you're down a minute, do you have to do a minute then? So if nothing else, oh wait, no, we still have MVPs and all that stuff still though, don't we?
Correct. So
we've got
based on what we're expecting the MVPs and Cy Youngs to look like, we kind of decided that, because I picked the Dodgers to win the World Series. So yes, I owe a minute right now because of all the NBA playoff series. So if the Dodgers win, that's 2 minutes. We said 2 minutes for the baseball stuff.
Right.
So 2 minutes, that goes back to 1 minute to you.
Here's the deal.
If they lose, then I still owe a minute.
Okay. If you have no idea what we're talking about, which most of you probably won't, that's okay. You can go back and listen to former podcasts to where we talk about all this stuff. But it's a revolving door. If you're not listening to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast every week, then you need to start so you can be in on all the good stuff that we got going on here, especially silly bets. We have 2 crazy bets going down right now. One is Adam Schmidt having to do 1 minute of stand-up comedy live during the podcast, no crowd reaction. The other person's on mute. So difficult, so terrible to have to do. And number 2, we may possibly get to hear the golden pipes of Mr. Andre Edwards.
I hope so. I hope he comes in last in that one.
I hope you win. I need you to win. We need you to win. And then the tiebreaker between me and Andre go to me. So we can get his pipes. That's what needs to happen. I've never rooted for you harder in my life.
I appreciate it. Let me ask you this though. We got to determine, so if one of us do predict either the MVP or the Cy Young in either league, did we decide 2 minutes for each correct answer?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. That sounds even more fun.
Because I'll tell you,
there's chances. I mean, there's a couple chances out there. You've got a couple chances to get like the Cy Young, the MVP, and the Dodgers winning.
I feel like I might have a chance on one of the MVPs because I had Acuna and Trout. I think it's going to be Freeman, and I'm not positive in the American League, but the Angels were terrible, so that's not going to help. But and you had Bryce Harper and Judge too, so and you had Kershaw and Garrett Cole. I had DeGrom and Cole. I don't know if either one of those. Actually, Garrett Cole, the way he pitched, especially at the end of the season, he might have a chance.
Yeah. But Cole doesn't do either of us any good.
Right, because we both picked him.
It negates it. Yeah.
Anyway, so 2 minutes for each one of those.
On that note, we've got a new segment here in the Nosebleed Sports Podcast that we're going to be doing every week, and it's the Mount Rushmore segment. We are going to do the Mount Rushmore of something. Last week, it was the Mount Rushmore of pitchers. Ended up starting pitching, but of pitchers. This week is the Mount Rushmore of point guards. It may not be a sports deal every single week. So stay tuned. There could be many, many more fun ones down the road. I am in charge of next week's. We'll find out later on in this segment what I have chosen, even though I think everybody knows because we've been talking about it like crazy. So let's get started with this week's Mount Rushmore. And Adam, I think I made you start last week. I'm going to start this week because I'm not going to get into a ton of stats. Okay. There's only a couple little stat things that I've even got in front of me to bring up, but the point guard position in my eyes has I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. I have 8 guys written down, and I have 9 and 10 down on the bottom that are like, oh, dude, I could yeah, they probably deserve to be in the conversation. So the 2 I took out at the bottom are Chris Paul and Gary Payton. Last week, I said the thing that's going to be the most important to me is assist-to-turnover ratio. Chris Paul, highest all-time assist-to-point turnover ratio at 4.1 assist-to-turnover per game. So that's ridiculous. However, number 2 all-time is Mr. John Stockton. And John Stockton, I am putting on my Mount Rushmore. I'm going to tell you, I really didn't want to just because I thought it would be fun to have this conversation without him. But as I started digging into these stats, it was 10.5 assists per game. So he's got, of my guys I got on here, he is second in assists per game on this list. And he's second in assist to turnover ratio on this list. That, to me, puts him at number 1. It's hard for me to say that, but I actually am going to flip-flop who I would have had at number 1, which was Magic Johnson. I'm putting Stockton, as reluctant as I am to do this, because I know the fans of the podcast that love the Adam, Chris, John Stockton jokes that go down. I hate to do it. I'm putting John Stockton 1 after going through the statistics of what this man has done. 2, I've got Mr. Magic Johnson, still really close to where those guys are. He's at 2.89 assist to turnover ratio, 11.2 assists per game average for his career. That's insane. Number 1, highest on the list. Nobody can touch it. So Irvin, Magic Johnson, I have number 2. Number 3 might be where I think we are going to – one of the things we're going to differ on. I think 3 and 4 we may go back and forth. Okay. Number 3, I'm going to go with a player who is still playing the game.
Hold on. Sorry. Let me present this to you. We can totally knock this off. I can just tell you right now that I have Stockton and Magic on mine as well. So we can just establish – Magic and Stockton, no doubters, 1 and 2.
I love it.
Now the conversation is just about these last 2.
Perfect. I think that's perfect. Perfect. All right. So I'm going with somebody who is currently playing at this time. And I'm putting Stephen Curry on this list. And Steph Curry is only on this list because of the way he scores as a point guard. No point guard has ever scored like Steph Curry has scored. He single-handedly changed the way the NBA is played by the way that the prolific way he made threes in games. It was already getting that way, but the threes he takes, Dame Lillard does it now. You got Trae Young throws up shots like that. These guys throwing up quarter court shots. You know what I mean? From the NBA logo just in front of half court. And it's just a jumper for him. To be somebody who can be at the top of when things happen, right? So the big man comes in and you've got Wilt and Russell, right? And that's, you're there. They changed the way basketball is played for 30 years. It ran through the big man inside. You had to have a dominant big man. Maybe not 30 years, but yeah, maybe 30 years. And then it changed to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, the slashing shooting guards that were the what you had to have on your team. And now you have to have either a shooting guard or a point guard who can shoot from anywhere on the court at any point in time. And Steph Curry has made that happen. Now, the Lakers just won an NBA championship not having that, but they also have LeBron James So that he's the greatest player of all time. So that goes that is what it is. So Steph Curry I have as number 3. So I don't know. Do I let you give a number 3 now, or do we have a conversation? Should I just find out? Do we just find out if you even have Steph on there? If you're still debating between your like somebody 3 and 4, which I know you are, 4 and 5, then you don't have to answer that question. I'll go to my number 5. Number 4. My number 4, because I have not determined who my number 4 is at all yet. Oh. I'll tell you who I'm picking between.
Okay.
I've got Bob Cousy. I've got Oscar Robertson. I've got Isaiah Thomas, Steve Nash, and Jason Kidd. I love Chris Paul, and now I'm starting to think I want to put Chris Paul up there. 9.9 assists per game, 4. No, I'm leaving him out. I already said I'm leaving him out. All right, so here's what I'm doing. Oh, my gosh. This is so difficult.
Can I jump in here and tell you that every guy you just named that's in contention for that are the guys that I have listed on my –
I believe that. I mean, I feel like there's once you get past like into that Gary Payton and Walt Frazier, that's a whole nother tier, right? Like that's not I don't even consider that. I feel like there's 9 guys – and that's what you got to choose from.
Yeah, I do have 9 guys, and the only difference is I do have Chris Paul in that.
No, I have Chris Paul. I'm saying Chris Paul in that 9. Yeah. I added Gary Payton on when I saw what his assist to turnover ratio was, so I added him at the bottom to give me a 10th. Mm-hmm. But Gary Payton and Walt Frazier are they're up there. They're great, but I put them just a step below, like from Chris Paul up. So. This is tough. Bob Cousy being an old school cat, I don't think they scored as prolifically as they do now back then. I don't know what the average score games were, so maybe the 7.5 assists he had per game were unbelievable back then. But it's hard to throw him in when I myself got to watch the rest of these guys play. And the more I look at Jason Kidd from a point guard perspective, 8.7 assists a game. He's the only one besides Chris Paul and John Stockton above 3 on assist to turnover ratio, which if you are at 3 for a season, like if your assist to turnover ratio is 3 for a season, you're considered to have, you're an all-star. You're an all-star easily at the point guard position. That's incredibly hard to do. Mm-hmm. You have the ball in your hand way too much. So I am fighting like crazy between Steve Nash, who's at 2.81, 8.5 assists per game, and Jason Kidd. I really thought I'd probably put Oscar in there, especially the way being a Cincinnati guy. But the problem is he's a UC guy. And I'm sorry, I'm knocking him off, even though he's probably one of them. You could put him on the Mount Rushmore of players, of all-time players, if you really wanted to make a case for him. You know what? Screw it. That's what I'm doing. I'm going Oscar. Changed my mind. This is what the nosebleeds does to me. I'm going John Stockton, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Oscar Robertson. I keep saying Robinson. All right, I'm done. I have officially talked my way through it. I've been looking at this for 4 days now, trying to figure out what my best option was going to be. And I decided yesterday before we came on air, we started to come on air. I was like, that's it. I'm just going to figure it out while I'm on the podcast. That's what I do best.
You do that well. But that's the beautiful thing about you. You can think on your feet. I can't. I have to pour over it and spend a bunch of time on Basketball Reference and I lose sleep over it. But I have almost the same. So I went ahead and put Oscar in.
Okay.
I put Oscar in and I put Jason Kidd in. My 4.
You went with Jason Magic, Kidd over Steve Nash?
Stockton, Magic, Jason Kidd, and Oscar Robertson.
Wow.
I can put Steve Nash or Steph Curry in instead of either Jason Kidd or Oscar Robertson with no problem at all.
I'd be fine with it. Totally fine with it.
And I think those are the guys. And then I think Chris Paul and Isaiah Thomas and Bob Cousy, although I think I'd probably put Bob Cousy ahead of those three. I would probably put Cousy first.
I would put him behind only because I don't know how good he was. So I feel like I just have old cats and what little bit you have on the internet to say, okay, it's Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy was the greatest point guard back in the day. You got to throw him on there.
Yeah. Just looking at, I don't know, just looking at kind of like top level things. He has better numbers than Chris Paul as far as like averages, I should say. Chris Paul shot a better percentage. Now they didn't have the 3-point shot when Bob Cousy played. Chris Paul is a better shooter by percentage.
That's even that, but that says even more to me.
And they're actually very similar.
Chris Paul is forced to shoot from further back.
Well, he's not forced to. I mean, he's made a pretty good living on shooting mid-range jumpers. He's his best game is mid-range.
Sure. But he also shoots the three pretty well. You think how many shots do you think Bob Cousy took that would have been behind the 3-point line?
Yeah, I have no idea on that. No idea. Chris Paul's a 37% 3-point shooter for his career, and that's not bad. But he shoots 87% from the free throw line, which is outstanding, and 47% from the field. So I mean and that's why he shoots 47% from the field, because number one, he's very crafty. He's a very smart player, and he uses angles and hesitations and uses his body well and stuff like that, and he makes mid-range jumpers and can score around the basket. Not that that's what he does a lot, but he can because he's so smart. Bob Cousy, I think, scored a lot, and he had Bill Russell on his team, who's one of the greatest ever, probably the greatest defensive player ever. So I guess I think he had to score because Bill Russell wasn't a big time scorer. He scored because he was a very good player. But Cousy, I think, was probably the better scorer, and he was a very small guy. Bob Cousy was 6'1", 175. As a matter of fact, Chris Paul is 6'1", 175. But Bob Cousy are almost identical.
I feel like Chris Paul, though, is smaller in his generation than Bob Cousy would have been in his generation.
Probably. So Chris Paul's a 10-time All-Star. Let's see. Well, first of all, Chris Paul has played. What does it say? So he's played 15 seasons. He's played 15 seasons. Bob Cousy. So that's part of it too. Is you got to look at how many games these guys played and how many seasons they played. Bob Cousy played. Come on, computer. 924 games in 14 seasons. So actually, Chris Paul has already played more basketball than Bob Cousy has. Bob Cousy was a 13-time. So in 14 seasons, Bob Cousy was a 13-time All-Star, 6-time champ. He was the MVP one year. He was a 12-time All-NBA player, 8-time assist champ.
So are we trying to figure out? What are we trying to figure out now? Who's 5 and 6, or what is this for? No, are we just giving a history lesson?
I think we just started talking about that next tier, because I think we agree that Stockton, Magic, Jason Kidd, Oscar Robertson, Steve Nash, and Steph Curry are the 6.
Sure. Right? Yeah. So we're trying to sort out the bottom 3.
The next 3, yeah, because we have the same next 3. We have the same 9 guys.
You're going Cousy, Paul, Isaiah, or Cousy, Isaiah, Paul?
I am going to quickly take a look at Isaiah's numbers in comparison. Pretty similar amount of games actually to those other guys. He played, yeah. really another pretty similar. He didn't
Yeah.
shoot the three well, but Isaiah played like when the three-pointer came into the league, pretty much. The three-pointer was very young in the league, and obviously, the further along we go, like this generation now is the most prolific three-point shooting generation by far. Thank you, Steph Curry, like you mentioned before. But shooting percentage, pretty good, because Isaiah was another really good, another almost the exact same. He's listed at 6'1", 180, almost exactly the same size. Shot 76% from the free throw line, so they were all in the mid 70s to low 80s, or actually mid 70s to mid 80s. And Isaiah shot 20. Isaiah wasn't a great 3-point shooter, but effective field goal percentage is 46.5. That weighs in. So 46.5 for Isaiah. And this is super boring for everybody. 52 for Chris Paul, effective field goal percentage. And Bob Cousy, they don't have an effective field goal percentage for him, but that's supposed to take into account like three-pointers, I think. Three-pointers and free throws and all that kind of stuff. So they don't have one for Bob Cousy because the three-point line wasn't there. Isaiah, let's see, 12-time All-Star. I think he only played 12 years, didn't he? He played 13 years, I believe. 12-time All-Star, 2-time champ.
Exactly the same as Bob Cousy.
What's that?
Exactly the same as Bob Cousy.
Yeah, Cousy, I think, was a 13-time All-Star.
No, he's 13 years, 12-time. I thought you said.
I think he played 14. He played 14 years, 13-time All-Star.
Oh, my bad. All right, so they both only had 1 year where they weren't.
Right. Let's see, 5-time All-NBA. He was the assist champ 1 time. Isaiah was. That's the thing when I think point guards, I automatically think assists because I think I want a point guard to be a distributor first.
Only thing I looked at.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like if you throw Steph Curry in there, that's not necessarily his assist numbers aren't going to be
not even close.
Aren't going to be there. But he affects the game he impacts the game in just as great or a greater way than any of those other guys with his ability to shoot the basketball and to make defenses play a certain way because they have to guard him a different way than they have to guard these guys who distribute the ball well and run offenses well and get guys involved and generate points for their team, not necessarily for themselves. But Steph, like I said, it impacts the game as much or more. So that's why it's a little hard for me to call Steph Curry. That's why some of these lists that I was looking at, very few of them, but a couple of them put Allen Iverson in their top point guards. I don't think of Allen Iverson as a point guard necessarily. He was a scorer, like number one, a scorer.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Some of these guys, it's kind of hard to.
Can I put LeBron James on this list?
No, and that's the other thing though is LeBron James is, I think he's top 10 already in assists, all-time assists.
Yeah.
He led the league in assists per game this year. So he's always been a guy he's averaged 8 assists a game for his career. Steph Curry averages 6.6 assists per game for his career. Chris Paul is at 9.5, so just a little bit ahead of LeBron James. I don't know how LeBron James' name escaped me for a second.
I don't know either. That name never leaves my mouth.
But he here's an so I think LeBron James has a higher career assists per game than Jason Kidd. And Jason Kidd he turned himself into an okay scorer and actually a decent 3-point shooter late in his career, but he was like a prototypical point guard, and he was a big point guard too. He wasn't CP3 or Isaiah or Cousy or Nash or Steph. Those guys are all small guards, or Stockton. Magic was a really big guard. Jason Kidd was a big guard. Oscar was a big guard. And that's the thing that made Jason Kidd, I think, put Jason Kidd on that list for me, because he's similar to Stockton in that he was pass first, and he was also a great defensive player. Jason Kidd was a 9-time all-defensive team player. Let's see, he led 6-time All-NBA, 5-time assist champ, and 9-time all-defensive player. So he's got both things for me that I want in a point guard, a tough, really tough-minded guy, very, very intelligent basketball IQ. So he is the most similar, I think, to John Stockton.
Favorite look on Jason Kidd, hair or no hair?
No hair. I'm a bald Jason Kidd guy.
I mean, that era of Jason Kidd obviously was the best, but he looked way better with hair.
I disagree because he did that really bad blonde dye job for a while.
I don't count. Just the little flat top that he had coming out of college.
Okay, that one wasn't bad. You're right.
Yeah.
California Jason Kidd was not bad with his hair. Some of those, man, when he was in Phoenix, some of those haircuts were just not so good. But I like a bald kid, I guess you could say. A bald Jason Kidd. Let me make sure I don't mess that up.
Oh, so good. That is so good. I wish we could clip that, cut it, earmark it, and have a little button that every once in a while just be like Adam Schmidt. I love a bald Jason. I love a bald kid.
Love a bald kid.
Love a bald kid. I love a bald kid.
We can make that happen. Jason Kidd was also a great rebounder. I love a point guard that goes in and rebounds. As a matter of fact, Steph Curry, while not known for rebounding in the NBA, was actually a really good rebounder in college. I think he led his freshman year. I'm pretty sure he led Davidson in rebounding, or was second on the team. Wow. And he was even smaller than he is now, like in frame. He was a little tiny, skinny kid. I'm sure you remember him. Everybody remembers that huge. I think when he was a sophomore, I want to say.
When they made the run.
NCAA tournament. Yeah. So anyway, Jason Kidd reminds me of Stockton in the way that he was a really tough defender and a pass first, get everybody involved, run the break. His vision was just unparalleled. He's one of those guys, Jason Kidd, you can put him there with Magic and with Jason Williams and Pistol Pete, and even Bob Cousy was kind of that way, kind of one of the first guys to do it then too. The guys that would make no-look passes and see guys behind them that there's no way they could see them, and just, really fun to watch just past the basketball.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I have Stockton, Magic, Kidd, and Stockton, Magic, Steph, and Oscar, right? And I have no argument against Steph. And like we said, I'm just so excited. We agreed on the top 6, whether we had the top 4 or not. We had the top 6 exactly, and I think great minds think alike.
I agree.
Or bad minds think alike too, I guess.
Can you hear me? I think I agree with you, but you keep pausing and then your mouth moves really fast.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, we're good. Cool. I can hear you.
I didn't hear you say anything.
Okay. No, we're back on time. All right, I'm good. I can't see you, but there you go. There you are. I love this. This is the new age of podcasting here. We're on the Zoom call, recording it for YouTube, and that was the weirdest thing that's ever happened in my life. Your mouth just you looked and sounded like the Micro Machine Man.
Ooh.
You were like Twista back in the early 2000s. It's pretty funny. Anyway, all right. So
every word you just said.
So we're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me
any more stats. Do you have any more stats that you want to read out? Do you have a WAR or a field goal percentage to turnover ratio or an FLTS percentage or anything like that you want to read off for all 9 guys so we can do exactly what you've been doing for the last week?
Let's see. Oh, hold on. We might have something. Are you there? This isn't looking good. Oh,